Hello, everybody. Jonathan Pola here with West Coast weather. Today is September 1st, the first day of meteorological fall, but it looks like the West Coast is not going to be getting fall weather quite yet and will probably be closer to astronomical fall, which I believe is September 21st. But right now we're looking at the current satellite imagery on the Sierra website, and you can see we have an upper level low right off the coast of northwest California and southwestern Oregon, and this will move up and weaken and go through Oregon. And this is going to bring a chance for some thunderstorms along the Cascades and also over eastern Washington, Oregon. There is maybe a very slight chance of some thunderstorms on the west side, but it should mostly be some spotty showers later this afternoon and evening, as some of this alto cumulus that you can see, this little bubbly clouds right here. This kind of shows where there's a lot of moisture up in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere, and this is kind of starting to flow over the Portland, Seattle metro areas, including out all the way towards the coastline, and even starting to reach Vancouver, BC now. This will push off later tomorrow before another big ridge of high pressure builds in over the region, allowing for some warmer weather to start flowing up from the southwest United States. Temperatures will likely be well into the 90s later this week for places Seattle, South, and also in eastern Washington, Oregon. Maybe some hundreds possible, but this could be the last heat wave of the summer season. But we can always get those sneaky ridges in the late September, early October timeframe, so we're not fully out of the woods yet after this ridge. And then potentially we look to get some troughing later out in towards the 10-day range, but there's a lot of disagreement in the models out there, so we'll only take a quick look at that. But I hope everybody's having a great day, and let's get right into the forecast. Now looking at the general ridge and trough positions on the European model. This is from last night's run. It is running right now this morning, but the data is still coming out, so we're just gonna have to stick with the older data from last night. So you can see our upper level low right now is just off the coast of northwest California and southwest Oregon, as we saw on the satellite. This will move up through Oregon, bring some slightly cooler weather to parts of Washington, Oregon, as well as some thunderstorm chances along the Cascades, maybe the Olympic Mountains, and also in eastern Washington, Oregon, into Idaho through later tonight and through Monday as well. This should kick off the east by Tuesday morning as another big ridge of high pressure starts amplifying over the west coast, especially up over the Pacific Northwest, as this troughing from some tropical storm activity over in the West Pacific starts moving down into the Gulf of Alaska. This causes the downstream ridge to kind of get pushed up like a large wave, and that's happening right over the Pacific Northwest later this week. The European model's actually got a very strong ridge, and this would bring some pretty hot temperatures, maybe even some temperatures up towards 100 degrees for the Portland area. But it's still, some models are showing some weaker ridging, so that there's not 100% confidence in the intensity of this ridge quite yet. But most models do agree that it's going to start weakening later this weekend. But there's disagreements on potential for some troughing after the ridging later this weekend and the early next week. So we're just going to have to keep looking at this, because we could be entering a cooler pattern that could enter us into some fall weather. So we're just going to have to keep looking back at that. Now, continuing to look at the European model, this is taking a closer look at the Northwest. This is British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California, down here in Nevada over here. Now, this is looking at the 6-hour precipitation type in inches. So you can see some of the light, generally light precipitation associated with our upper level low. Some thunderstorms and showers start getting sparked up later this evening and into tomorrow evening as well, and over parts of eastern Washington and Oregon as well. But this is going to be generally pretty light, so I wouldn't expect much from this. There could be some new fire starts as well, and as this low pushes east on Monday evening, there's going to be some pretty strong westerly winds going through the Cascades into the Columbia and Great Basin, so we're going to have to keep an eye out for some potential new fire starts or faster fire growth during that period. Now looking at the lightning flash density, this is for the last 6 hours. You can see that later this afternoon, you can see some of that activity starting to spark up along the Cascades, maybe the Olympic Mountains as well. Most of that staying up in the mountains, though some of this is getting close. Some of this is actually sparking on the coastline of Oregon as well. But most of this should be in the mountains. And then as we go through tomorrow, Monday evening, it's going to start moving over out east and before moving all the way out to Idaho and Montana by Tuesday. Not much activity expected after that. Looking at taking a closer look directly on Washington, Oregon, and the Pacific Northwest. Here's southern British Columbia, Vancouver, BC's up here, Seattle, Portland, Northern California down here. And you can see this is from the NAM3 cam. So this is kind of looking at what the radar may look like. And you can see right about now at 11 a.m., which is when I'm filming this video right now, you can see some scattered showers with the alto cumulus as we saw on satellite. Some of this will push up through the area today, maybe some more showers later tonight and the early tomorrow morning. But as you can see, they don't look very intense. Even the NAM doesn't really show much thunderstorm activity over the Cascades later today. So it's really, a lot of it is up in the air still if we get thunderstorms or not, pun intended. But as we go through later Monday, you can see some of this more actual thunderstorm activity with some stronger cells that you can see here in the orange and red over parts of eastern Oregon, even some parts of the southern British Columbia up here towards northeastern Washington. And this all moves out by early on Tuesday before we dry out for the rest of the week. Now looking at surface-based CAPE or convective available potential energy, basically how much energy thunderstorms have. This is looking at the NAM tends to sometimes overdo these, but these are really high values for this area. The Cascades showing over 5,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE. That is a ton. Usually only out east over towards Oklahoma and in the Midwest, they actually get these values. But most of this is not really going to affect the storms at all because a lot of these storms are going to be above the surface. This is surface-based CAPE. So most of these storms are going to be up above the surface, so they really won't be tapping this rocket fuel energy over the Cascades later today and into tomorrow. So we're not going to get really super robust storms, even though we have a ton of CAPE. Now looking at the 10-meter wind gusts on the NAM as well. Generally light winds for most of the area later today. Maybe some westerly breeze later this evening for part along the Strait Juan de Fuca and the Whidbey Island. That'll cool things off. But then you can see as we go through Monday, you can see the westerlies start picking up as those winds flow through the Cascade gaps as this pressure gradient from west to east forms. And this will bring us some rather strong winds, some gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe isolated gusts up to 55 miles per hour in the higher terrain over parts of the eastern Columbia and Great Basins all the way through Tuesday morning. And that will bring the potential for some fire starts as well as you get those dry, really windy conditions and also can grow any existing fires. Thankfully, the rain of the past few weeks has helped calm a lot of those fires out there. Now looking at the National Blended Models, looking at the 24-hour max temperatures. On Monday, we looked to cool down a bit at least on the west side as that upper level low kind of brings in some of that more onshore flow. Generally temperatures in the upper 60s, the middle to upper 70s on the west side, with temperatures in the 80s and 90s on the east side on Monday. Tuesday, maybe a little cooler on the east side as some more of the onshore flow keeps affecting eastern Washington, with temperatures mainly in the 80s, maybe some isolated low 90s. Also, temperatures mainly in the 70s and low 60s along the west side. Cooler temperatures along the water. Also, some upper 80s possible for down in some of the southern Willamette Valley of Oregon. Also, in some of the northern Sacramento Valley up towards Mount Shasta, Northern California, getting up into the 90s down there. But you can see as our ridge starts building in later this week on Wednesday and Thursday, the temperatures really start going up. And this is a blended model, so it's not, the temperatures might be a bit warmer than this. So, but it's still showing over 90 degrees, the low to middle 90s for Portland, even some hundreds starting to show up in some of the higher terrain, the valleys down southwestern Oregon, also getting back into the 90s in the Columbia Basin. Also Seattle starting to get up into the 80s. Maybe in low 90s in the southern Puget Sound on Thursday, even some up towards 100 degrees in some places around the Portland metro. Also into the 90s for parts of the Columbia Basin, eastern Oregon as well. then about the same this Friday, and then we'll cool off a bit this weekend as that ridging starts the weekend. Now looking at California, just looking at the temperature map down there because there isn't much other activity going on. You can see Death Valley got those greens, which that's showing up around 118 degrees. That's why it's called Death Valley for a reason. What you can see is our ridge starts building this week. California also gets very toasty with low the middle single digit 100s. That's kind of a weird way of saying that, but low 100s likely over all of the Sacramento Valley, with hundreds well in the 115s, even down in the southeastern California. But that's all desert region down there, so that's not super unusual this time of the year. So very toasty temperatures coming to California later this week. Here's a nice graphic from the National Weather Service of Spokane, Washington, with the moderate heat risk today. This probably could extend into tomorrow as well, but highs today will be in the 90s and low 100s in some places like Lewiston down here or Walla Walla. But a moderate risk for members of heat sensitive groups, especially those without effective cooling or adequate hydration. So just please stay in a cool place during the heat of the day and make sure to have adequate hydration as well, especially if you have to work outside today. Also, some showers and thunderstorms as we saw on the models for Labor Day. That's Monday tomorrow. You can see generally a 10 to 30% chance tomorrow for the Central Cascades and the Columbia Basin and parts of Idaho. Main impacts will be lightning, gusty outflow winds, brief downpours, and the risk of new fire starts, as I was mentioning. So just keep an eye out on the sky tomorrow. And now going over the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This is for September 6th through the 10th. You can see generally above average temperatures still continuing through later this week and the next weekend as that ridging still remains. But you can see maybe some slightly above average precipitation chances starting to show up as some troughing maybe starts approaching the coast later next week. But generally in the interior, most of the Pacific Northwest will be around normal to below normal precipitation. The 8 to 14 day temperature outlook valid for September 8th through the 14th. Generally above average temperatures expected out toward the Intermountain West, but you can see it's starting those the lesser chances for above average temperatures are starting to creep onto the coastline during this time frame, and the above average precipitation is starting to move in as well, as the Climate Prediction Center, they're expecting potential for some troughing to start making its effect on the Pacific Northwest. So we're gonna have to take a closer look at this next weekend in the next forecast video, but we could be heading to a more fall-like weather pattern later next week. Well, everyone, that's it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable and informative. Mainly some scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms over the next day or so for parts of the mountains and especially eastern Washington. Also some shower chances out on the west. And then we build up the warmth and heat later this week for much of the West Coast. And then we look to potentially get some cooler weather as we go through late next weekend into next week. So potentially looking at that, but it's still really far out, and a lot of the models are kind of flip-flopping all over the place. So we'll continue to look at that as we go. But I hope everyone is enjoying their day, and as always, just please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below if you're enjoying these videos. It helps the channel out and helps the algorithm to just push my videos out to more people. My goal later this winter is to get monetized on YouTube. That way I can just start earning some cash. I enjoy doing these videos for free, but some free money while you guys are watching the videos is always going to be appreciated. So trying to work on that, and you guys can help by liking and subscribing to the channel and videos. So I hope everyone has a great Labor Day, and I hope everybody stays safe out there. Keep an eye on the skies over the next day or so, and I'll talk to everybody in the next video.